Well, John, it's the first time we've heard from you this season. A few people are saying about the board and perhaps not speaking as much as perhaps in previous years. Do you feel that's a fair criticism of you?
I can understand what people are saying. I mean, we've had purposely we've tried to do more of our business in private over the summer, and I think that's had a real positive impact in terms of player recruitment over the summer. That sort of business, I think, is best conducted in private. And on the other side of it, we've always felt Derek is the best spokesman for the football side of the business. Having said that, there are things that Derek can't talk about. Financial fair play, stadium facilities, other subjects like that, where perhaps maybe we could have come forward a month or so earlier and had some of those conversations.
Do you feel perhaps over the last few years you've probably had some good speakers, haven't you, in Steve Lansdown and Colin Sexton? Is that something that's affected it?
In a way, we take a conscious decision. Who is the best spokesman for football, and I still feel Derek comes across very well. He's the best place to talk about the interesting part of the football that people want to hear about. At the same time, there is much more to the club than that, and that needs to be put across as well.
The board is relatively new. How is it set up this season? How do you feel it's going? The relationship with the management team, etc.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Dorr and myself, close relationship with Derek. We speak on a daily basis. I'm located right next to him here. The relationship is very good. He gets a lot of support from us. I know Keith is quite a private person, so publicly that might not come across, but he's certainly got the club's interest at heart, and of course I do as well. Yeah. It's functioning well behind the scenes. We've got a guy Price in terms of the stadium, the operation side of it, and then myself, Keith, and Doug Harmon in terms of the football side of it. But there's other people around as well, but that's the core.
A lot has been spoken about financial fair play. You've mentioned it already. How much of an effect will it have on Bristol City long term, and how much of an effect has it had already?
I mean, the penalties for financial fair play kick in judging on next season. So from next season it will have a serious bite across the league. We are in a position as a football club where we may have overextended ourselves in the past in terms of trying to reach a level. An expectancy that a new facility would come along as well. So we probably geared up in advance of that, and then that's not come to fruition. So we are in a position where next season, that will have an effect on us, but it'll have an effect on a number of other clubs as well. I mean, the facilities are really important. It's really important we have new facilities as a football club going forward, and the sooner the better, because if you look at someone like Leeds United, they've got 3 times the turnover that Bristol City has. So in terms of competing on that basis, you've got to get your advantage from somewhere else. We can probably squeeze a bit more commercially out of Ashton Gate, but it has a ceiling in terms of the corporate offering, everything like that. So that is key to the long-term plan, and the sooner the better. But in the meantime, it's why the academy is so important, and it's why player identification and recruitment is so important, because we've got to get our edge from somewhere else rather than just the money side, the pounds and the pence, because we are restricted in terms of it's not a case of not wanting to put it in. If you overextend your means in terms of the rules of financial fair play, you leave yourself open to a transfer embargo and a 100% fine. So in terms of that, the transfer embargo, even if you did want to take the fine, will stop you doing what you need to do down the line. So it's there's a lot of work to do, but there's positives from it as well. It's important that we are very good at those areas, and that is what our focus is on. Yeah. And when a new facility does come along in the future, once you've done that, we'll be in a great position to move from there.
So has it already had an effect on transfers, say this summer? So when you look forward to January, I know you've obviously brought in a lot of players over the summer. A lot of people have left. Has it had an effect on what Derek can do?
Short term, it hasn't had a huge effect. We might be looking at a type of player rather than, essentially if you're spending a lot of money, you might be looking on younger players where you hope you can improve them and they have a value there. That should always be important though. And I think, you can see we've backed the manager in terms of signings, summer signings. We've had Greg Cunningham, Sam Baldock, Stephen Davies, and the 3 loan signings we've had recently. it is there to bolster the squad when needed. But I mean, the results on the pitch always will get people looking at that sort of thing, and that's another point in terms of Derek commenting and the board commenting. Derek's focus has to be, and always will, the manager's focus will always be, it's tomorrow night at Birmingham. Now, whereas the board's focus is tomorrow night at Birmingham, we've got to have a focus on the longer term health and development of the football club. That has to remain a focus, and you've got to stay objective with that. It's, in terms of the immediacy of football, it's always been there, but it's definitely more apparent since your 24-hour Sky Sports News, everything like that. It'd be naive to say it wasn't there before, but the results on the pitch now have that's what you're under scrutiny for, and you have to have an objective approach on that. It's never as good as you think it is when you're going well and you can't see when your next loss is going to come from. It's never as bad as you think when it's going, although it'll feel like it when you can't see when your next win's going to come from. But if we're having the same conversation in a week's time and we won 2 games, it'll be slightly different. So it's just about keeping that objectivity.
It's not about the academy. A lot of talk about getting Category 2 status. I know Tim Kirk set a lot of things on its way. He's now left the club. Your thoughts on that and where the academy is in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I mean, Tim's taken the academy a long way from where it was when he took over. He felt he's taken it to a level where he needs someone else to get it over the line. And it's been a changing beast in that time, because it's gone from, there's a lot more people working within the academy now, and it's more of a small business in itself. I mean, it's very much connected to the club now, which may have not been the case, or seen as not to be the case in the past. But at the same time, it's got a lot more operational and commercial aspects to it that he didn't quite feel comfortable with. So I mean, I'm thankful to him for where he's got it to, and also his honesty in terms of he thinks someone else is best to get over the line. But everything is going to plan so far. It's come a long way, and we just need to get ourselves in shape to get over the line in the new year.
Yeah, we've seen players now signing contracts at academy level, which is a good thing. Player recruitment as well. Obviously, that's something at the centre of your focus. How crucial will that be?
It's vital going forward. I mean, I know I used the Leeds example before, but if we don't have the same level of budget as another team because we can't bring the revenues in, then we've got to be looking somewhere else to get our advantage. Now, I'm not naive enough to think the academy can change overnight. I'm hoping we're going to get some players into the team soon. We have got some good young guys coming through, but there is still going to be a transition phase in that, and I'd be kidding everyone if I was going to say we're going to fill the team from next year. It's not going to happen. We might get 1 or 2. The player recruitment is vital. You've got to be finding the best with the money you have available and fishing in the right ponds. There are Albert Adomas out there. There's plenty of other players. It's just about the identification and the recruitment. And I mean, part of that recruitment process is anybody can put names into the top. Fans, manager, anybody. There's a set process to get to who we get down to the finer detail and who we get watched. But it's a key part going forward. And both the academy and the player recruitment are seriously growing functions within the club at the moment, and they'll be vital to the future success.
At the fans' parliament the other night, one thing that came out was fans saw what the players and the disconnect they've had recently in terms of back in the 80s and 90s even, there was a lot of closeness between fans and players, and even so now they walk through what they call a car lot when they walk through the Atius. And do you think the club has got a lot more to do in the community to get players and fans closer together? Yeah,
I mean, the community trust and the community element has come on leaps and bounds in the last 12 months or so, probably a bit beyond that. And the player appearances are only just starting to pick up on that, and I think if they haven't already, they'll see a serious change in that side of it. I mean, it is something that we looked at the results that would come through in terms of how we fare with other clubs in terms of that, and yes, we weren't where I'd want to be, but I mean, Amy Kington's really got hold of that as director of the community trust. Been nominated for a few awards already. It may be a bit too early for us to be there yet, but I know she's got ambitions for us to be the best community trust in the country, and I think she can deliver on it, and fans will see that going forward. I can't say, you want there to be a connect between fans and players, and there may have been more of that in the past, but we're determined to get that in the future. And if the fans don't feel it, it's got to be with the community, and that's where your fans come from. So it should, high hopes of that being, you're a community club here, and and you very much want that to be the case.
There's a lot of restructuring in the summer.
Yeah.
Is the rubble now settled? Do you feel it's getting a bit back to normal?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get across. Well, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes, and I can look where we've come from and think we've come a hell of a long way. It's easy for me to say that. I mean, fans will sit here and watch the games on the pitch and say, well, look where we are. I can only give them a word that we've done. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes, and it is positive, and the results will come. That's only words until people start seeing the results. So that's difficult to get across, but they'll see from the academy, they'll see from the player recruitment pieces, they'll see from the community that we are taking steps forward as a club, and it's got to be all about the future development and health of the football club. I mean, that is that's my passion.
Well, it all comes back down to facilities. What is the latest on the stadium? The old question.
I mean, that's another thing we took offline. The public conducting that in public as well wasn't coming to fruition. I mean, it's a big frustration, and it'll come much more into the limelight with financial fair play looming, because when you see that you need a certain amount of revenue to provide a certain level in terms of wage budget, then it becomes a key element of it. So I mean, we're working very hard behind the scenes in terms there are very good people working on it in terms of producing that new facility as soon as possible. It needs to be in the plans to help us kick on when that does come around. But I mean, you're obviously looking 2-3 years down the line for that to be up and running. Yeah. But it's a key part of it.
There's annual accounts to come shortly, an annual supporters meeting. Do you feel you'll answer more questions? You'll get more communication going forward now? Yeah,
I'm sure I will. I'm sure there'll be some questions before that as well. But it's a time when fans can ask questions, and we'll give the best answers we can.